Good Tuesday morning, everybody. It's Mason Sapesky. Welcome to this week's Week 2 NFL recap. We are going to recap some of Week 2's games this week, or actually not some of them. We're going to recap all of them, except for one, that is the Steelers-Browns game last night. I did that in my Steelers Game Day post-game, so if you would, please also take a view look at that. So, yeah, that's all I have to say about that. So let's get right into it. We're going to start out with Thursday night's game. The Philadelphia Eagles beat the Minnesota Vikings 34-28 this past Thursday night. This was a good one, but if I am Philadelphia, I'd be a little scared right now, and here's why. You guys barely, and I'm not trying to critique Philly at all. I have friends from Philly, so I'm pulling for you guys, to be honest with you, but Philly, you guys should be a little worried right now, and here's why. You barely beat the Patriots 25-20. I think that's what the score was. Yeah, 25-20 in Foxborough, and you beat the Vikings by 6 at home. Sorry, the burp. Sorry, I just had to burp a couple times there. It's always because I eat cereal in the morning. It's 9:37 right now, so I just ate my cereal about an hour and a half ago. So that's why I'm burping so bad, because I always burp on my cereal. So that's why. But anyway, though, those teams are combined 0-4. You guys beat two teams that are combined 0-4 by 11 total points. That's worrisome for Philadelphia. That is super worrisome that this team could potentially take a decline. This team probably will be a decline from last year. They'll still obviously make the playoffs, but who knows? This division's going to be really tough and all that. And they have a tough game coming up this coming week, Monday Night Football in Tampa, which we'll preview on Thursday. As for Minnesota, this season is not a lost cause yet. You guys might be 0-2. The odds might be against you, but I still believe in the Vikings big time. I expected them to lose this game. They might be, though, on the other end of the one-score games this year, unfortunately. So just keep an eye out for that. That's for sure. 34-28, obviously. Another one-score game. They lost 20-17 to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at US Bank Stadium on Sunday, September the 10th. So, yeah, everybody, though, in the NFC North lost. So, not all hope lost for the Vikings yet. They play the Chargers this coming week. Not just Sunday's games. This was the one I am most furious about this week. And it's because my second favorite team, the Detroit Lions, could not get over their kryptonite. Their kryptonite is the Seattle Seahawks. The Detroit Lions on Sunday afternoon lost to the Seahawks 37-31 in overtime. Why can't the Lions beat the Seahawks? It's plain and simple. This is the one team they cannot beat. The Packers are no longer their team that they need to be afraid of. House of Horrors, Lambeau Field. The Seahawks are the new public enemy number one, I think, for Lions fans. Because they just can't beat this team. I don't know why. It's just something about this game. Detroit just can't beat Seattle. You come off beating Kansas City. I have all the hope in the world for you guys to start 2-0, and you can't beat Seattle. I don't get it. Tyler Lockett's going to have a good year. That's all I know. So, it'll be interesting for sure to see what the Lions do this week. They have the Falcons coming up on Sunday. As for the Seahawks, they host the Carolina Panthers on Sunday. So, both these teams host NFC South teams this week. Hopefully, that works out well for both of them. I talked about this one on my Steelers post-game show because this is who the Steelers play next week. The Bills defeated the Raiders 38-10. The Steelers play the Raiders next week. The Raiders were in this game for a little while. It's just the Bills took advantage of them, and they steamrolled them. I was surprised it was this much of a steamrolling. For sure, especially after this one started, but credit to Buffalo. They looked really strong, so Buffalo's going to be stronger than some people think, for sure. As for the Bills, obviously we discussed who the Raiders play next week because it's Steelers. But as for the Bills, they head down to Washington to take over the 2-0 Commanders in our nation's capital. This one was definitely an interesting game, and it has a huge impact on the AFC North. That's for sure. The Ravens defeat the Bengals 27-24. T. Higgins went off for the Bengals, scoring 2 touchdowns. However, it was not enough to defeat the Ravens. Lamar Jackson looked really good. This offense under Todd Monken looks really good. keep an eye out for Lamar Jackson to be an MVP contender. I'm just throwing it out there now. That's my sleeper pick for MVP. It's probably not going to work out because I'm not that good at predicting. As last night showed, I predicted on my Steelers game day pregame, so Najee Harris would score a touchdown. He did not do that. Last week I predicted Joey Porter Jr. would have an interception. He did not pick off Brock Purdy last week. And I also predicted on my Twitter account that TJ Watt would break the sack record in the first quarter. He broke it in the third quarter, so my luck. But anyway, though, I've predicted a couple Penn State games and pick games pretty good this year, so I guess I'm okay in that regard. But Ravens defeat the Bengals 27-24, and my sleeper pick for this one is this. As I've just said, Lamar Jackson is going to be an MVP contender. That's my bold statement for this one. As for the Bengals, they're not in trouble yet. They've started 0-2. They've been down this road before, but they have a tough game coming up. Super Bowl rematch. They're going to look to avenge that Super Bowl loss from just 19 short months ago to the Los Angeles Rams. They have the perfect opportunity Monday night and the perfect chance to avoid 0-3. As for the Ravens, they get ready to head back home to Baltimore to take on the Colts on this Sunday afternoon. Next up, this was an interesting game for sure. The Chiefs defeating the Jaguars 17-9. I can't believe this game was as low scoring as it was. I wasn't surprised Jacksonville hung in this game. I always expected. Sorry, I'm tired. I stayed up late last night from the Steelers game. That was definitely interesting. Tune into my Steelers post games, so please get the recap from that one. But that was definitely an interesting game. But anyway, back to the Chiefs. They didn't look too impressive. They have not impressed me much this year. Obviously, they avoid the dreaded 0-2 start, but they still have a lot of work to do. Luckily, they have an easy one. Should be. Don't count our chickens before they hatch. Don't count the chickens or the eggs before they hatch, or whatever the saying is. I forget it. I don't use it much. I think it's don't count your chickens before they hatch. Don't count your chickens before they hatch, but this should be an easy game against the Bears. So hopefully they'll get the chance to tune up some things there before the schedule gets significantly tougher for them. And then after this, they have the Jets in New York. So who's their Week 5 game? Hang on a sec. Before they head to Minnesota for what might be a tough game. So they have some good opportunities here to rack up some... Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I was looking at Week 3. But they have some basic opportunities here to rack up some easy wins. Possibly get to 3-1, 4-1 before schedule gets significantly tougher for them. They have both the Bills and the Bengals in December, so they need to get off to a better start if they want to be well prepared for those two games, because those two will be competitors in December, most likely. As for Jacksonville, they prepare to host the Houston Texans on Sunday. It will be an interesting game for sure. Houston typically beats Jacksonville in Jacksonville, but this Jacksonville team is really good. Trevor Lawrence did not have the best of days, unfortunately, for the Jaguars on Sunday. Calvin Ridley did not either, which was also unfortunate. So, yeah, they need to get ready for the Chiefs. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I just got a Snapchat. I was just Snapchat popped up on my screen. I was sidetracked there, but I take that back. The Jaguars need to prepare for the Texans and not the Chiefs. You guys probably could tell by now, but I use my phone to do my filming and all that stuff, so I don't use a camera or anything. So that's why it looks weird to me, like when I'm looking at my phone and I'm just, as notifications pop up while I'm filming, I typically just glance at them. So yeah, that's why sometimes I get sidetracked during these with silly stuff. Anyway, now Titans defeated the Chargers 27-24. First off, I just want to comment on the heated exchange between Brandon Staley, Chargers head coach, and a reporter. He criticized the press for being so easy to jump the gun on blame from the playoff last night. Oh my gosh, it's like too lot after that Steeler game last night. Continue to jump the gun on the blame following the playoff loss last year to Jacksonville. Well, This team might be this year's Vikings, though, with one-score games. They might lose every one-score game they're in this year, but Chargers lost this one-score game to the Titans. And how convenient is it that this week coming up, they get ready to head to Minneapolis to take on the other team that's the one-score kings, the Minnesota Vikings. Here's one prediction I'm going to make for this game, and this one is 100% going to be right. You can mark it on stone. You can write it on stone. Mark my words. This Chargers-Vikings game is going to be a one-score game. Put it in the books. There's no way it doesn't happen. Both these teams, all 4 of their games this year have been one-score games. No way the Chargers-Vikings this week is not a one-score game. As for the Titans, they get ready to head up to Cleveland to take on the Cleveland Browns. Unfortunately, the Browns last night lost Nick Chubb for the season in their game against the Steelers. It'll be interesting to see what the Browns do against the Titans' run D. So that'll be interesting to say the least. It'll be definitely a competitive game up on the lake in Cleveland. Falcons come back to beat the Packers 25-24. Good job, Atlanta. This was a huge win for the Atlanta Falcons. They're now 2-0 with their rushing attack. Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier, my 2 fantasy stars. They've done nothing but good things for me. I'm very happy about that. But they also got Drake London involved finally this week. Another guy on my fantasy team sitting pretty on my bench. So that's definitely interesting. For sure. So Drake London had a good week for sure. They need to do one more thing, and that's get Kyle Pitts involved in this offense. He can be a weapon, that's for sure. So they definitely need to get him more involved. They will look to do that, though, against the Detroit Lions this Sunday at Ford Field. As for the Packers, they prepare for their home opener against the New Orleans Saints. Colts defeated the Texans 31-20, and this is another injury I'm super upset about because I really, really liked how this player was performing. Anthony Richardson suffered a concussion, unfortunately, Sunday in that game. So hopefully he's okay. Hopefully he's good enough to get the start here, either this coming week, oh my gosh, or coming one. So hopefully prayers up to Richardson for a speedy recovery. I really want to see him recover well. For sure, he has definitely taken the NFL by storm these first 2 weeks. Looked really well. Reminds me of a mini Lamar Jackson. So, yeah, that's definitely interesting. So, it'll be interesting for sure to see what happens this week. Anyway, now the Texans, they prepare to make the trip down to Jacksonville with C.J. Stroud as their quarterback. C.J. Stroud was impressive this week for sure. But anyway, yeah, it'll be interesting to say the least what happens with the Texans. This one was definitely a good one. The Buccaneers defeated the Bears 27-17 in Tampa, Florida. Who expected Baker Mayfield, of all quarterbacks, to be 2-0? I definitely did not expect Baker Mayfield to be 2-0, but here we are, and here he is. He might be the best fit for Todd Bowles. The way they're going to run this offense, Tampa Bay all of a sudden looks really good, really scary, but who knows how long this will hold. That Steelers game last night got the best out of me, as you could probably tell by now. It was actually a really ugly game. It was the ugliest game I've seen in a while. I recapped that all on my Steelers post-game, but I'm starting to regret staying up for that ugly game as I continue to yawn on this video, for sure. But anyway, the Buccaneers looked very good this week. They're going to be a very good team this year, I think, if they can continue this. As for the Chicago Bears, what are you doing? Spent all that money this offseason? Nothing to show for it. This is going to be, as I predicted, a very, very rough season in the Windy City. And it's going to put Matt Eberflus on the hot seat and also Justin Fields. So keep an eye out for that. 0-2 Bears, 2-0 Bucks. And the Bears have a much better quarterback than Tampa Bay does. So that doesn't tell you a lot about Chicago. They're not going to be that good this year, obviously. I am shocked that people picked them to go to the playoffs. Absolutely shocked that people picked them to go to the playoffs. I knew this team wasn't going to be impressive. This team hasn't impressed me one bit. It's probably the most disappointing team in football, to tell you the truth. And they're going to continue to disappoint, unfortunately. So just remember that. And this is another team where the quote-unquote experts disappointed me. Because they said this team's tanking, this team's tanking, this team's going to get blown out, this team's going to get blown out, this team sucks, this team sucks, this team sucks. The Arizona Cardinals lost 31-28 this week to the New York Giants, who were in the NFC divisional round last year. Obviously, the case can be made that the Giants overperformed and they were the worst team in their conference. Or worst team in their division, and the coaching got them by. That statement is true in a way. That statement's very true in a way, to be honest with you. Daniel Jones is not an elite quarterback. Saquon is an elite running back, and hopefully he's okay. It's another injury. These injuries this year suck so much. It's disappointing, these injuries. So, yeah, for sure. Saquon Barkley, yeah, for sure. But the Giants win this game 31-28. They should have never been behind as much as they were. 20-0 at halftime against the quote-unquote tanking Arizona Cardinals team is unacceptable for Brian Daboll and co. They have a lot of work this week before they head up to the Bay Area to take on the 49ers. As for the Cardinals, though, keep your heads up, guys. You're playing much better than anybody expected you to. I was kind of thinking 2 blowouts. They have not done that. They've played to the tune of 2 close games here, and they're impressing. They're impressing. If they can continue to play close against good teams or somewhat average teams, then they can possibly, once they build that roster stronger with their draft picks and all that, can be a competitor. And even, if you put it in perspective, Kyler Murray's hurt right now. But if you put things in perspective, if Kyler Murray was playing for the Cardinals right now and was the starter, this team might be 2-0. So this team's roster is better than most people think. Their coaching is better than most people think. So, yeah, for sure. Brian Daboll just got the best of Jonathan Gannon. Which is surprising because Gannon should have known how to hold Daboll. He held Daboll last year in the NFC divisional round. He stopped Daboll after the Eagles held that big lead. They were able to hold that 38-7 lead over Philly over the Giants for the win. Why couldn't have Daboll done it this time why couldn't Gannon have done it this time against Daboll? I don't know why, but there might be tanking going on in Arizona. I'm not accusing there of being tanking. Most of you guys are probably watching this are going to probably say, Mason, it's pretty obvious that the Cardinals are tanking. Yeah, it might be obvious that they're tanking, but yeah, for sure. Cardinals have looked better than most people thought, though, the first 2 weeks. That's all I'll say. We'll see this week, though, what they're truly made of when they play the Dallas Cowboys this week. As for the Giants, as I have mentioned, they play Thursday night in the Bay Area against the 49ers. Speaking of the 49ers, they beat the Rams this week 30-23. The Rams' offense looks really good. Karen Williams, Puka Nacua, Tyler Higbee, Matthew Stafford. This team is better. As I said in my predictions video, this team is going to be better than most people think they will be. I was probably right on that. This team could easily be a playoff team this year. This is definitely a good sleeper team to put your money on, that's for sure. But this team could make a run, similar to what Seattle did last year. Don't count out the Rams. As for the 49ers, this was much closer than I expected, but still nonetheless a very impressive win by them. They now get ready for Monday or Thursday night tilt against the Giants in their home opener, the Levi's. So, as for the Rams, they play Monday Night Football, 8:15 p.m., I think, in a Super Bowl rematch against the Cincinnati Bengals. Sorry about my voice there not being the best. It just took me time to think about that one. All right, now as for the next game we have the Cowboys down the Jets 30-10. This one obviously wasn't surprising to me as Aaron Rodgers was hurt. I predicted 31-10. I only came 1 point off of that. Oh my gosh. So crazy. I expected this kind of game exactly the way it happened to happen. So good win by the Cowboys. They now prepare for what should be an easy victory in Arizona. I'm confident for the Cowboys that will be an easy victory for them. Steelers took a lot out of me, as I've said, with the yawning. Should be an easy victory for the Cowboys. I'm a little upset because I play against Dallas's defense in fantasy this week. Of all the teams they could be playing, they play the Arizona Cardinals. That game is going to be pretty lopsided. I already saw when we went to the preseason game in Arizona on our trip, there's a video there. It's Broncos or Cardinals some Broncos in preseason finale. I hope you guys tune into that video as well. But when we were looking at ticket prices, I just scrolled down to view the different ticket prices for the different games. Every other game except for Dallas was like $35-40, and I don't blame them. They're not supposed to be good this year, so why pay the money? But I don't blame them. But anyway, though, Dallas was like $130. I expect State Farm Stadium on Sunday to be packed with Dallas fans. When the Cowboys come out of the tunnel, I expect nothing but cheers. There's going to be Cowboys fans are going to go into State Farm Stadium and are going to outnumber the Cardinals. Mike McCarthy and Jerry Jones are absolutely going to love it. It's going to be a sea of blue and white at State Farm Stadium Sunday. I'll give you a sneak peek for my predictions episode, but I think this is going to be a lopsided game for sure for Dallas. They're going to put up a ton of points and stuff on Arizona, and that crowd it's going to be a road game, but the crowd is going to be so happy and so into the game because it's going to be a road game, but as I said, but 65% of State Farm Stadium probably will be Dallas Cowboys fans. So that'll be interesting. So it's almost like they have 3 straight home games. They just won their first game at New York, which definitely is not a home game for them. The Jets game, that was a literal home game. It was actually played at State Farm Stadium, or not State Farm Stadium, AT&T Stadium. They had the home crowd on their side for sure. The home crowd impressed. Next week, they go to State Farm Stadium in Arizona. As I said, that will probably most likely be a home game for them because the crowd will be probably majority Cowboys fans, that's for sure, this coming week. And then they go right back to their actual literal home in AT&T Stadium to take on the New England Patriots. It looks like the Cowboys are going to start this year 4-0, and it looks like they're going to be a dominant Super Bowl contender from the NFC. And why isn't Dan Quinn got a head coaching job? What he has done with this defense is so special. He almost won a Super Bowl in Atlanta with the Falcons. Why isn't this man a head coach right now? So that's shocking. It all comes down to McCarthy now for Dallas. As for the Jets, though, Zach Wilson, he's not your answer. You guys need help at that position. You did the right thing. You got help this offseason. Unfortunately, that help's not there anymore. Because unfortunately, as I've said, injuries suck. But now you're stuck with Zach Wilson again. And now you go home to prepare for the Patriots in week 3. That'll be interesting. This one was interesting for sure. The ending was especially interesting. The Kareem Jackson hit was especially interesting and sad and horrible, to say the least. But Commanders beat the Broncos 35-33 in Denver. This was actually a shocking outcome to me because I picked the Denver Broncos for my survivor poll. Now I'm eliminated for that. So this was definitely an interesting game, that's for sure. But the Commanders look impressive. They're 2-0. Sean Payton blew a 21-3 lead. Sean Payton is not the coach that he's so described to be. He's not as good as a coach as I would have thought he was. This Denver team, as I have said, this Denver team struggles go beyond Nathaniel Hackett. It comes back to Russell Wilson. Sean Payton so far has not fixed Russell Wilson. This team should have done what was right and done it the logistically, like Detroit did it, like Cincinnati did it, and like Arizona is doing it right now. And that's tear it down and rebuild. You can't do that now because of Russell Wilson, but that's what I would have done if I were Denver. And now they spent all this money, and look at the consequences the Broncos are facing now. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Whether George Patton, however you pronounce it, is going to be the GM there much longer. So if he's not, that would be somebody I wouldn't mind adding to the Steelers front office and like an advisory role and all that. So he'll get a job somewhere else as either an assistant GM or an advisory role for a front office. I wouldn't mind him seeing him come here to Pittsburgh in an advisory role, mostly because our assistant GM is actually my cousin, and I don't want my cousin to go anywhere. So I don't know if I've ever said this, but the assistant GM of the Steelers is actually my cousin. So it's definitely nice knowing that he's my cousin. But hopefully he gets a GM job here soon elsewhere. Or yeah, for sure, because I want to see him succeed and definitely do great things. So yeah, but I wouldn't mind adding George Patton to be an advisory role for the Steelers front office. That's for sure. Anyway, for the Commanders, Eric Bieniemy should be a head coach. I've been saying this for the longest time. This man deserves to be a head coach, so make him a head coach. These Commanders game wins are not just coming because it's an easy schedule. Sam Howell is the real deal. I've always been a fan of Sam Howell's, and hopefully he can click it here for the Commanders because he has looked very good. He is a winner. I will say that right now. Sam Howell's a winner. He was undervalued in the draft process, that's for sure. But he's the real deal. So 2-0 Sam Howell, 2-0 Eric Bieniemy. Loving it. Sorry about that. I had to burp. Dolphins defeated the Patriots 24-17 in Foxborough on Sunday Night Football this past Sunday. Wow. This one was definitely interesting. The Dolphins are now 2-0. The Patriots are now 0-2. This Dolphins offense is elite. It's too quick. Love what Mike McDaniel's done down there. They should easily be 3-0 after Denver on Sunday afternoon. So yeah, that'll be interesting to say the least. Denver goes into Miami Sunday. As for the I'm sorry to yawn there. Patriots, they play the Jets in MetLife on Sunday. That'll be an interesting game for sure. Patriots looking to avoid starting 0-3 for sure. The Patriots offense is better, but it's not great yet. It's not where it needs to be. Hopefully Bill O'Brien, I like him a lot, can develop that offense and make them a competitor. That's for sure. Now on to the last game, Monday Night Football. I'm sorry I couldn't get into more detail on a lot of these games. I've just had to cut it short here with time. Because I have some things to do before I go to school. But hopefully, yeah, Bill O'Brien can get things to work for Houston. But anyway, now for our last game of the week, the Saints down the Panthers 20-17 in Carolina. This was a shocker to me because the Saints offense did not look good at all last week. Sorry, I'm just closing my iPad here. Last week against the Titans in New Orleans, I expected them to lose this game, but they pulled out the win. Bryce Young's experienced some growing pains. The rookie coaching staff is as well. They're now a dreaded 0-2. Everyone else in the South is 2-0, which is surprising. The NFC South, the worst division of football, is off to a strong start. And then you have the Panthers, who have struggled this year. Bryce Young's not looking the part. Obviously, it's too early to tell whether or not that was a good trade by them, but both teams are 0-2, but maybe Chicago did win that trade. So it'll be interesting to see for sure what happens the rest of the way with Bryce and that Carolina team. As for New Orleans, they're a good 2-0 heading into the Packers game. These NFC South squads have some interesting games to restore this week. The 2-0 ones especially. Atlanta goes up to the Motor City to take on Detroit. New Orleans heads up to Titletown to take on the Green Bay Packers. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers stay home to host the Philadelphia Eagles. The easiest game, I think, of all these is Tampa Bay. Because they're at home, and as I've said, Philadelphia has not impressed me much this year at all. I mean, I think, in all honesty, the predictions, I have may say otherwise, but I think Dallas might be the division favorite this year. I'm so glad I changed my mind to predict them to be a playoff team. I didn't predict them to win the division, but I definitely am happy I predicted them to be a wild card team. This team's going to be a competitor. They might even be the one seed in the NFC. That Week 5 game against San Francisco is going to be so exciting. I'm already excited to watch that game. Week 5 is definitely going to be an interesting slate. Sorry to get ahead of us here, but we have the Ravens and the Steelers, obviously. Then 4:25 with the Jets and the Broncos, which maybe some heat and energy was taken out of that, but it's still going to come with a lot of excitement, obviously, because of Sean Payne's comments. Hey, Sean Payne, I have a little message for you, buddy. I'm just going to say this right here, right now. You're 0-2. Nathaniel Hackett did not start 0-2 at all. Nathaniel Hackett started 1-1. Nathaniel Hackett had a winning record after 3 weeks at 2-1. Your own 2, you won't have that. So, I'm interested to see the Jets and the Broncos week 5, that's for sure. But yeah, we'll get into that week 5. And then Cowboys and Niners, that will be a great way to cap off an exciting week of football. That's for sure. And then Monday night that week features my 2 sleeper teams, Packers and Raiders. We'll get to that, though, 2 short weeks from Thursday. 16 more days, and we'll get the week 5 prediction video. But for now, it's all about week 3. There's some interesting games for sure. As I said, back to the NFC South discussion, as I get so easily sidetracked here. Back to the NFC South discussion. I think Tampa is the easiest of games against Philly. I think New Orleans is the second easiest in Green Bay. I'm cheering for New Orleans in that one. And I think Atlanta is the toughest one at Detroit because I think they'll be fired up following that loss. So anyway, that's all I have for you guys today. I have a busy day ahead of me with class and all that, so I got to get going here. Take care, everybody. I will be back with you on Thursday where we will do my probabilities and also my week 3 predictions. I got to get to work planning Thursday's videos. I have today, tomorrow to prepare for the upcoming week. That's all I have for you guys today. As always, have a good one. Take care. Stay safe. Peace. See you Thursday.